what I mean by that is that by the virtue of consciousness expansion, so a lot of people have been observing themselves, meditating, drawing attention to the self and being aware. It has been happening and spreading through yoga in West, through psychoanalysis, psychotherapy. That impulse in consciousness to really know itself, to be aware of itself, has been happening now for a while. And a lot of things are shattering in this site. Like, for example, all kinds of religious customs and constructs that young people are no longer, in the free world where they are not punished, or where their freedom of how they see reality is not, as harshly monitored as, for example, in Russia, where you can't even speak your mind without being arrested, like right now in this time. So you see things, the veil is being pulled, but then to meet the truth, and for most of us to meet the truth, especially as we compare each other to each other, we understand, one of the things we understand, that we are all sharing the same planet, and yet somehow, or the same country, the same city, maybe even the same, right? The same community, but we are going to be having very different experiences. And as we continue, because this almost like it's a like I see it like a machine. It already been, that kind of a consciousness pill was already dropped just by the virtue of consciousness realizing itself. So it just was going to descend more and more and more, that people are going to understand, oh my goodness, everything, the way I live, the way I feel, the way I feel in my body, it's all my responsibility. And right now I'm awakening to realization that this is what, I like how someone said it. Who did say it? This is the minimum. I just heard this phrase, the experience that you're having right now, the kind of life that you're having right now, on a subconscious level, this is the minimum that you are agreeing to have as a soul in this body. This is the minimum. There is a personal layer to it, and there is a collective layer. And collective needs to change. I mean, this wave of realization is happening because you cannot be happy. This is what we are going to understand. And that will kind of brush every single person with some ego turmoils. We cannot have true happiness without everyone being happy. Because there will be wars, that, as long as there is scarcity, as long as there is famine, as long as there is this mental religious delusion, we are going to be inflicting suffering all around. And even and it's true that this is the magic. This is where the magic happens, because I think about myself, oh my goodness, I could have been now in Ukraine. I was born in Ukraine. I could have been now in Israel. I was, my family is there. I'm actually, traveling back and forth, that's a part. So some things are just a part of your reality, and for some people, if you are in, your country is in a war, then you're going to have all of this set of emotions and heartbreak. And even if you function, and even if you know how to still find joy in life and anchor and kind of still understand that, like for me, I understand that wars have been happening on this planet forever. So when this wars began, I had a lot of shame come up. What do I do for the collective? What can I do? Blah, 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 blah. These are all also, Soviet culture is very collectivistic. They're very problematic, the culture in Russia right now, in the Russian-speaking world, and not only in Middle East too. It's almost like I can really see the war on the very principle level happening between how are we in the relationship with each other, and what it means to be in a beautiful, harmonious relationship, because there are people who know how to create it within themselves first, because then they start placing those boundaries and expectations. I'm still here, I'm still interacting with all kinds of people, and I'm going to strive forever to be the best version of myself in relationships with other people. But sure enough, I'm going to be very strategic about how I want my specific bubble, my home to look like. And this is where we are coming home, and we are understanding that we're essentially having our lives the way we are creating them in our homes, because this is where we spend a lot of time. And here we have complete choice in a free world. And this is where the free world gets slapped on the face, where we women, where we men get such a tough slap on the face, because we realize where what we are doing with our freedom. What are we doing with our freedom?
Do you work with couples who find that at some of the root of their conflict is related to them both coming from different cultures, mixed ethnicity, mixed upbringing, partnership, and then some of their conflict can be traced back to that?
I work, I think naturally, because I'm Russian speaking, I work with people who come from Russian speaking community. These are majority of my clients. But also, I find that other people who are attracted into this work are people who in general had this religious upbringing where there is patriarchal, where they feel they're very much connected to the spirit. So they are connected to nature, they are connected, to animals. They do have already deep visceral understanding that this is where we are moving. This is, this is the most incredible experience when you are in nature. Just like you described, I came and I realized it took me all this time to just the shift between being in the forest and in the silent. So this is where kind of we are going to go. This is where we are coming back to our senses in that way. So that component is there. But in terms of when it comes to the partner relationship, there is the whole mess, because there is such a rigid, things that were assigned. You as a man supposed to be this way, you as a woman supposed to be this way, and it doesn't work. They want equality. They want true, genuine love, but they, understand that it's really hard, because that, to be a couple in the free world out of true freedom means that it's better for you together than not together. And you're free. You are free. And that's a very hard moment, because, you're coming to this realization when you're 40 plus and you already have kids and you already have partner. And, it's just someone you were in love with, and you love this person. And maybe there is a lot, like there is some connection between the two of you, but there were things that happened. You've hurt each other, you've hurt each other, you didn't hear each other, you trampled over each other, because this is essentially this hierarchical, sin versus, sexuality is sinful, like all that. It just created so much mess and so much distortion. And so people are, they feel energy, they want to align. I guess this is where maybe people come to me, because they realize that the processes can be so much easier and faster if you work with energy. You can ease without doing kind of more intellectual. You can ease, and just if you're open to directly connect to the visceral sensual experience, just like you did, how you guided it with the breath work and meditation, you can much sooner and much easier transition into this new era.
Yeah. Then would you say, if you're mostly working with couples that they're both coming from the same messages around sex and relationships and intimacy in that more Russian, but still very patriarchal
Right, it's
framework.
actually different. A lot of
Yeah.
people relate to it. Actually, I think most of the people relate because this is our, this is our background. We all come from it. We all come from the world that is still largely men own women, and older women consent into it and even preaching it and grooming the young women into this thing. And this is normal, but it's
And
terrible.
would you say that some of the conflict then is now they're in the US and they're like, now we have this
So you're
freedom.
free.
And then it's kind of like, even though that's a positive thing, it's unsettling because you're outside of this framework that was causing some pain and giving permission to abuse each other emotionally in different ways. But now they have this freedom. It's kind of like, now what do we do with it? How do we? And then I would say, this is just like a not a guess, but what I witnessed, because I sounds like I might see couples more often that are of two different cultures, mixed couples. So it's like between them, but then also the world they're in, if they've come from somewhere else into the US, and also amongst their own social network. Because then if they have close friends, close couples that they feel safe to share, like maybe two women sharing their own experiences within their own marriage, then those stories are very different. And there could be envy, resentment for those other female friendships, be like, well, I want what she's having, and that can sometimes, I think, create some unfortunate space between women too. Which
Yeah, that's I feel like here we need to do cut and then start third episode, and we'd still have time about the sisterhood, about a relationship between women if you want to. Because I feel like that's I don't know if that's what you meant, but what I heard is
yeah, keep going.
you realize like the larger social circle where you have friends and you compare relationships of each other with or like how a different lifestyles, and then envy sparkles. Envy is very interesting thing. Yeah, so I feel it's just for me it's like it feels like cut and let's talk about that because that's like another door that leads us to another layer.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
there's another hue. It's like I like feel like maybe we're opening rooms and there is a medicine in each room. So each pain, I imagine it as a room, and inside there is a medicine. So we'll close this door and we'll open the door of the envy between sisters.
Okay.